Negotiating a job offer is, one of the most exciting and nerve-wracking moments in your professional life.
Absolutely.
And it usually is right up until the point they slide that benefits packet across the table.
Mm.
And then suddenly you're just drowning in acronyms, HMOs, PPOs, RSUs, FSAs, and that huge decision starts to feel like a pop quiz you did not study for.
It's an immediate confidence killer.
Ugh.
And it's because almost everyone focuses entirely on that one top-line number, the base salary.
Right.
But if you stop there, you're making a massive mistake.
Exactly. So our mission today is to cut through all that complexity. We've pulled apart the sources to give you the ultimate shortcut to evaluating your entire employment package.
Yeah, we're going to show you what total compensation really is.
How to value all those non-cash perks and the crucial, often missed questions you absolutely need to be asking.
Let's start with the foundation, because this whole conversation really rests on two terms people constantly confuse.
Which are?
Total compensation versus benefits.
Okay, let's unpack that immediately. What is the fundamental distinction, and, why does confusing them cost people real money?
So total employee compensation is the entire financial value the company is placing on you. We define it with a pretty simple formula.
Okay.
It's your direct pay, so your salary, bonuses, equity, plus your total job benefits, which are the non-wage perks. The mistake is just equating compensation with your paycheck.
So those benefits aren't just like little cherries on top.
Not at all. And we're talking about significant value.
Yeah.
Benefits, when you add them all up, insurance, time off, that retirement match, they can easily add 30 to 40% to the value of your base salary.
30 to 40%. Wow.
But here's the critical insight. That value is calculated based on the employer's actual annual cost for that perk. It's not what you would pay for it on your own.
So just to be clear, if my company pays $10,000 a year for my healthcare, even if I only see, say, $2,000 deducted from my paycheck, that full 10 grand counts toward my total comp.
Precisely. That's $10,000 of invisible income you have to factor in. And that makes the retirement section immediately vital, because this is where that free money truly lives.
Let's talk 401ks then. This is really the bedrock of financial security for most people, and the advice is always the same. Contribute early.
Yes. Compounding growth is just. It's incredibly powerful. The dollars you put in when you're 25 are exponentially more valuable than the ones you contribute at 45.
So what's a good target?
A good rule of thumb is aiming for, say, 10 to 20% of your gross salary, especially if you could start early.
But the absolute non-negotiable step, this is the free money alert, is making sure you hit that employer match.
If you leave this deep dive with just one actionable item, it should be this. Know your company's match. The source material shows the average is around 4.6%. The median is 4.0%.
And if you don't meet that,
If you contribute less than what's required to get that full match, you are, and I mean this quite literally, leaving guaranteed returns on the table.
that just feels like financial malpractice on yourself. We should probably mention the 2025 limits too, just to give people the goalposts.
Good idea. So the 401k employee contribution limit for 2025 is $23,500.
And for older workers.
If you're 50 or older, you get an additional $7,500 catch-up contribution, so $31,000 total.
The limits are high, but like you said, priority one is capturing that match.
Always.
Okay, but here's where it gets interesting, especially for someone just starting out. The investment strategy inside that 401k. It's tempting to just pick the safest fund.
It is, but you really need to think about your risk tolerance relative to your age. If you're young, you have decades to ride out market volatility.
So you can be more aggressive.
Exactly. You should lean heavily into riskier stock-based funds because, historically, they offer the highest returns. As you get closer to retirement, then you pivot
To what?
to safer, less volatile options like bond funds or money market funds. Target date funds or life cycle funds are great for people who don't want to think about it.
Because they adjust for you.
Yep, they automatically adjust that risk level for you as you get older.
Before we leave retirement, there's one advanced question every new employee must ask HR. What is the vesting schedule for the employer's contributions?
This is so crucial. The vesting schedule dictates when the company's matched money officially becomes yours. I've seen so many people leave a job like 3 months before their vesting is complete and lose thousands.
Wait, you mentioned cliff vesting in your notes. Can you define that?
Sure. Cliff vesting means you get 0% of the company's money until you hit a specific date, let's say 3 years of service.
And then?
Then you're 100% vested. But if you leave one day before that date, you lose the entire match.
Ouch. What's the alternative?
A graded schedule. That means you vest gradually, maybe 20% a year until you hit 100%, understanding that schedule is key for job portability.
That's a phenomenal piece of advice. Okay, moving on from savings to immediate protection, health coverage. The classic choice, HMO versus PPO. How do we decide?
Well, it really just boils down to cost versus flexibility. An HMO, a health maintenance organization, generally has the lowest monthly premium.
But it's restrictive.
Very restrictive. You have to use doctors and hospitals in that specific network, and you often need referrals for specialists.
So it's good for someone young and healthy.
Yeah, if you mostly just need preventative care, the savings are usually worth it.
And the PPO, that's where you're essentially buying freedom.
The PPO, or preferred provider option, gives you much more freedom. You can see doctors outside the core network. But that freedom comes at a cost.
Which is?
Higher premiums and higher out-of-pocket expenses, co-pays, deductibles, especially for out-of-network services.
So if you have a chronic condition or just really value choice, the PPO is probably the way to go.
Usually, yes. It's the more expensive but more flexible path.
And we can't forget the ancillary benefits, dental and vision.
Dental is almost always a good bet. The cost is usually pretty minimal, and it covers routine cleanings and x-rays, which can save you from much more expensive procedures later.
And vision.
Vision is more situational. If you wear glasses or contacts every day, it almost certainly pays for itself. If not, you might just skip it and pay cash for an exam every couple of years.
Okay, now let's touch on protection against the unexpected life and disability insurance. The source material was brief on this, but it's so important.
It is. Most employers offer some basic term life insurance, usually about 2 times your annual salary. It's crucial if you support a family.
But the key word there is term.
Right, it's temporary. The employer-provided plan typically terminates when you leave the job.
And disability insurance, I feel like this is often overlooked, but for a younger worker, it's arguably more important.
And absolutely critical. Disability insurance provides income if an accident or illness prevents you from working. But the key insight here is that the standard employer plan is often not enough.
Why not?
It typically only covers about 60% of your base salary, and depending on how the premium's paid, that benefit could even be taxable.
So you really need to consider a supplemental private policy.
Strongly consider it. A long-term disability event is one of the quickest ways to completely derail your financial stability.
That's a sobering thought. It's a good reminder that planning isn't just about growth, it's also about protection. Okay, let's transition from pure finance to work-life value, starting with PTO. Paid time off.
What's fascinating here is how often this benefit just gets wasted. We saw a stat that in 2017, 52% of employees had unused vacation days.
They're essentially just donating time back to their employer.
Exactly. And companies should be encouraging PTO because it's vital for preventing burnout and keeping up productivity.
And the mechanics of how we get that time off are changing too. We're seeing a big shift from separate vacation and sick days toward a PTO bank.
Correct. About 40% of employers now use a PTO bank, just one single pool for vacation, sick time, personal time, whatever.
And employees seem to like that.
They do. The lump sum feels like more vacation, and they don't have to, lie about being sick to take care of a personal errand.
But this structure has some major pitfalls. You mentioned a term, presenteeism.
Yes, that's the main downside. Employees might come to work sick, that's presenteeism, because they want to save their days for a real vacation.
Which hurts everyone, spreads germs, lowers productivity.
And there's a second financial pitfall, this one for the employer, but it affects you when you leave.
This goes back to that proactive insight you were talking about.
The key takeaway is this. You always have to verify how your PTO is legally classified in your state.
Why is that?
Because in many states, vacation time has to be paid out when you leave, but sick time does not. If an employer classifies their PTO bank as vacation, they're on the hook for a huge financial liability.
But you, the employee, get a guaranteed payout for any unused days.
Exactly. That is a must-ask question.
We also have to touch on the newest and maybe most ambiguous structure, unlimited PTO. It sounds like a dream perk, but is it?
It's the ultimate trust exercise. And while it sounds amazing, the evidence shows that in many companies with unlimited PTO, employees actually take less time off.
That seems so counterintuitive. Why?
Because without a clear number of days you've earned, there's no cultural baseline. Employees worry about looking lazy or taking too much time compared to their colleagues.
So you really have to dig into the company culture.
You have to. Ask questions like, what's the average PTO utilization on this team? You need to understand the unwritten rules.
That tension in benefits leads us right to the great employment divide. The public sector versus the private sector.
This is a classic choice, and the benefits package really defines the difference. If you prioritize job security and stability, government jobs are pretty much unmatched.
High stability, rare layoffs.
And, often, guaranteed defined benefit pension plans, which are nearly extinct in the private sector. Plus, you get regulated, predictable work hours. Great work-life balance.
But if you crave that high growth, high reward, private sector is the path.
Right. Private sector jobs usually start with higher salaries and offer variable bonuses. Career advancement can be much faster, often based on merit, not just seniority.
And they invest more in training.
A lot more. Cutting-edge training, environments that really encourage innovation. It's a different world.
The real insight here, though, is how that higher salary in the private sector is often just offsetting a future liability.
That's the core trade-off. The private sector is paying you more now so that you can fund your own future. They're shifting the massive long-term liability of a pension onto your shoulders.
Whereas the public sector might pay a bit less.
But they are funding that future liability for you through their guaranteed pension contribution. You have to calculate that difference. It's huge.
That frames the negotiation in a whole new light. Okay, let's move to part 3, the advanced checklist. These are the details most people miss.
And they can drastically improve your long-term financial outcomes. First, we need to go back to the 401k and ask about something called a true-up provision.
True-up provision. Okay, I'm guessing that's not in the employee handbook glossary. What is it?
Some companies have really complex, like tiered or quarterly matching systems. If you, say, max out your contributions halfway through the year, some of those systems might just stop matching until next year.
Oh, wow.
A true-up provision is a formal calculation, usually done at year-end, that makes sure you receive the maximum possible employer match, no matter when you contributed.
So you should just ask, do you offer a true-up provision?
Demand to know about the true-up. It's that important.
That's a powerful detail. Okay, now let's define some of those acronyms from the start. Let's talk HSAs and FSAs. What makes the health savings account, the HSA, such a financial secret weapon?
The HSA is exceptional. It offers a triple tax advantage, but you have to be in a high-deductible health plan to get one.
Triple tax advantage.
1, your contributions are pre-tax. 2, the money grows tax-free. And 3, your withdrawals for qualified medical expenses are also tax-free.
Yeah.
It's like a supercharged retirement account just for healthcare costs.
Okay, so if HSAs are that great, what's the deal with the flexible spending account, the FSA?
The FSA is useful, but it lacks that long-term power. The key difference is the use it or lose it rule.
I've heard of that.
Yeah. Most of the money you put into an FSA has to be spent within the plan year, or you forfeit it. It's great for budgeting predictable expenses like braces or childcare, but it's not a long-term wealth builder like the HSA.
Got it. Now, for people in tech or finance, equity is often a huge part of the package. RSUs, stock options. Let's define them before we talk about the tax mistakes.
Good point. Equity gives you a stake in the company's success. RSUs, or restricted stock units, are basically a promise to give you shares after a vesting period.
And once they vest?
They're yours, and they're taxed as ordinary income.
And stock options are different.
Very different. Stock options give you the right to buy a certain number of shares at a fixed price, the strike price. If the company's stock goes up, you can buy it cheap and sell it for a profit. Much riskier, but the potential reward is higher.
So what's the biggest mistake people make here, tax-wise?
The biggest mistake is exercising those options without being prepared for the immediate tax hit. Depending on the option type ISOs versus NSOs, you can generate an enormous, immediate, and really unexpected tax bill.
So the advice is?
Always consult a tax advisor before exercising. And always ask HR how retirement or leaving the company affects any unvested equity you hold.
One final crucial piece of long-term planning, retiree health care. This is a massive gap for most people.
It's a huge gap. Most people will retire before they turn 65, which is when Medicare starts. That gap, potentially years of self-funded health care, can be crippling.
So a company that offers a plan to bridge that gap.
A retiree health insurance plan, or even just a formal transition plan, is a benefit that provides immense security. It should be weighted very heavily if you plan on staying there a long time.
Okay, finally, let's put all this into context. Because depending on the industry, the benefits packages look dramatically different.
Absolutely. Looking at the 2025 data, information technology and finance and insurance are the clear leaders. IT, for example, has 90% health access and high rates of PTO and remote work.
So if you're in tech, you should be pushing for more.
You should be pushing for 100% employer-paid premiums, not just basic access.
And the laggards, where should you be prepared to negotiate harder?
The struggling sectors are typically retail, trade, and hospitality. Retail only shows about 45% health access, 43% retirement access. Hospitality is even lower.
So in those jobs, you're negotiating for coverage at all.
You are. The default package is just far, far leaner.
This deep dive has really hammered home that evaluating a job is so much less about the headline salary and so much more about calculating the complete value of the employer's investment in you, that 30 to 40% multiplier.
It's the difference between a short-term paycheck and actually building long-term wealth. If you understand the match, the PTO policies, your vesting schedule, you can turn a good offer into a foundational launchpad for your entire financial future.
So here is the final provocative thought for you to chew on. We discussed the complex comparison between the stability and pensions of the public sector versus the high-risk, high-reward world of the private sector. If you were comparing two seemingly equal job offers right now, and you knew that benefits were valued at the employer's actual cost, which single non-cash benefit like a strong pension contribution, a massive professional development budget, or superior retiree health care would you assign the highest personal long-term value to right now, and why?